Stephanie got her first deal, so I jumped on it and asked her to um, do the live today, and she was gracious and agreed to do this. So yeah, that's who we're going to be talking to today. Fresh clothes, still piping hot, and it's her first. So we're going to go through the trials and tribulations. We're going to go through this. We're going to break down this sale, and yeah, see if you guys have any questions. All right, let me bring her in. Okay. Hey, Stephanie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Fabulous. How are you?
Wonderful. Should I let your AI note taker in?
Sure.
Or okay. All right. AI is in the building. Stephanie, thank you for agreeing on such a short notice. I appreciate that. I reached out to you yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, and you were gracious and you agreed. So I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So tell for those of you in the group who don't know your background, I know you're very active and you're commenting all the time. You're present on every live. But for the people who don't know you, can you give us a little bit of your background? What careers have you hit so far?
Sure. Well, I don't want to. I know we only have less than an hour, so because I'm 1,000 years old, but I will attempt to squish it into a couple. Let's see. It might, even though I have a background, I did go to college, but did never. I'm the classic person that went to school and never really used my career. So I always thought I would continue on and do the like I really wanted to be a counselor. Actually, I always wanted to be a teacher. But I'll tell you this, in our country, Mahmoud, like unfortunately, teaching, while it's a respected profession, it's also you're barely above the poverty level. And so I had a second job when I was in college, I had a second job in grad school. I didn't want to have a second job when I was gonna have my real job. So I really felt like teaching was never gonna be fit for me. So in my 20s, oddly enough, I when I left school, I was in Nevada because I came here and I got into the gambling industry. So I have background in gaming, sports betting, completely random. And then got out of that. And then I was actually headhunting in my 30s. So got was doing a lot of work with Series 7 licensed people, and I was recruiting financial advisors and that sort of thing. Got into mortgage banking as well. So I was actually I was a lender, an originator myself, and then everyone knows, most people who are over 30 maybe remember in 2008 the financial crisis hit. So I needed to pivot, and I got out of mortgages. And then actually, and I've always wanted to travel. So I actually was married at the time, and we started traveling. So I moved to New Zealand. I was doing some volunteer work down there with at-risk children because I've always loved cooking. Then we moved to Spain, and I was doing some workshops with chefs because I went from having a love of food to, by that time, I was vegetarian and then was on the verge of being vegan. And actually opened up a vegan cooking school. So I was teaching in English and in Spanish in Spain, and teaching students from around the world. So I finally got back to teaching, but I was teaching food and not a more traditional curriculum. So that was fun. I'm a huge tennis buff, and so I actually taught nutrition to the children that go to Rafael Nadal's tennis academy because I lived in
Wow.
Spain. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I taught his nephew, and it was a great experience. And so that kind of went full circle. And then COVID happened, and it really kicked the school's ass. And then I was in Greece at this time, and then I realized I needed to move back to the US to be around my elderly parents. And I knew I've been looking since 2016 for a job, a career, not a job, a career online. And I've never been able to crack that code. So many of us come from different parts of the world where we all find this thing, we all have this thing called, when I was growing up, we called the idiot box the television. Now it's like, we all have this box on our desk, whether it be a laptop or a desktop or whatever. And it's like we want, like, that's our vehicle to make our to make our money. And I wasn't able to crack the code. And I mean, I looked at so many different things. I won't bore everybody with that, but I spent about a year ago, I had my knee replaced. And so I was on my butt doing a lot of rehab. And literally had to work from a computer. I couldn't, I had been doing some other like things. Oddly enough, I was actually a farmer. I was teaching children at a nonprofit how to grow fruits and vegetables. And I was like digging dirt ditches and making like $19 an hour, and it sucked. And I was like, that's it. I got to get my knee replaced, and I have to figure out this working online thing. So I looked at everything under the sun. And then, as you can imagine, I found Rank and Rent. And so I watched a lot of James Dooley. I don't hear a lot of people talking about James Dooley. He's that British guy. He has that funny accent. I think he's actually Scottish, but he's in the UK, and he's really crushed it over there. I know he's still doing well, and watched a lot of the heavyweights, and learned about this industry, and just got in. And I actually started I joined Shiv's group, and met some really nice people over there. And I just found that because I have a sales background, and I'm a bit old and impatient, I realized that I needed to do the pre-selling, and get this moving faster, because I
Mm.
still have, like, I mean, I'm in it right now 7 months, but my oldest sites organically are like 4 months old, and they're still producing like drips. Like, there's not enough to sell. Like, I'll get a lead here and lead there. So my organic stuff, just like, it was too long of a wait and see. I know, like, the set it forget, like, that's the crock pot slow method. I was looking
Mhm.
for like the Nick's method's the microwave method, right? So like, I'm like,
Right, the pressure cooker method.
let's get it going now. Yep. So
Mhm.
that's I jumped into that group, and so here I am,
That's awesome. So you're telling me that you
full
tried
time.
these careers, 6 or 7 of them, and Rank and Rent is it?
100%. Yeah, I don't do anything else. Like, this is no side hustle. This is no, like in the middle of the night. I don't have kids. I don't have a job. Like, I haven't worked in over a year. So this is what I'm doing full time. When I Oddly enough, I was looking for this. I always wanted to drive cross country. I'm from back east, but I live in Nevada, and I've always wanted to drive cross country. And I finally got my knee, like, finally better. And I was always waiting, like, everybody has like their list of stuff to do, right? Their bucket list. And I was waiting for like years and years to find the right person to go with me to drive cross country. And no one either had the time or the money or the wherewithal, or the desire. And I'm like, that's it. I'm like, F it. I'm like, I'm going. So I shoved my dog in the car, and we drove for 7 weeks, Mahmood. 7 weeks, 7,000 miles, 25 states. Like, I went through, like, from Nevada all the way. I didn't hit Florida, but I went all the way down, like, across, like, through Texas. Um, and sadly, like, I was actually hoping, I drove through like where Eric was from, and like, or lived, and tried to meet him, but then that didn't work. And then up to New York, and went to Niagara Falls, and then did the loop and came all the way back down. And that entire time I was doing my studying, and I was like watching all the videos and learning. So I couldn't really work because I was traveling, and in and out, and so I hit the ground running, like, really, like, dedicating myself to this business full time June 1. And that's when I started ordering sites, and so I don't make them myself because I don't have the patience. Like, oddly enough, like, I can't stand the SEO, the back end stuff. Like, I tell my customers, I'm like, listen, I can't spell IT. I'm like, that's not my jam. I'm like, my job is to get you business. Like, because they don't care. You know that they don't care if you're getting deals from Mars, or from a fish tank. Literally, it's like they just want to close deals. It kills me to this day when I hear, like, these newbies who are like, oh, what do I say if, like, my customer calls, or the business owner starts asking questions. I'm like, just tell them you're marketing. Just tell them you're getting referrals. That's it. They don't need to know. Like, it's like, just like little fluff. Like, it's like they're filling space by asking you these stupid questions.
Right.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
care.
I
Like,
yeah,
when I have a
I can
broken
definitely
leg, and
relate.
like, I need the doctor to set my knee. Like, I don't know, want to know what kind of, like, like, what type of plaster he's putting on my knee. Like,
Mhm.
just take care of my knee, fix it,
Yeah.
do it. Yeah. Anyway,
Mhm. Oh, it
I,
seems like this model is definitely perfect for you because you like to travel. You were putting in 1,000 miles a day. So, yeah, this model is definitely for you. You're the ultimate nomad, I guess.
yeah, I was just
So
actually, oddly enough, you
it's
say that because I'm trying to get back on the road. I mean, that's my goal. I need to just get my MRR up, And then I'm getting itchy because I've been in one place for too long.
Are you still in Nevada?
Yeah.
Okay. Like the Vegas area or?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, nice. Okay. Henderson, Clark County.
Yep. Exactly.
Awesome, awesome. So tell me about these deals that flopped before this one came out successful. What deals have you flopped before this one?
Well, make you laugh. So one of the first BOs I had ever talked to.
Yeah, I want to
You know,
hear
talk
the
about
worst.
we all have our war stories, right? But like, I've never in all the times I've been watching. Oh, by the way, so here, this is my homage to Nick. So like, this is my
Nice. Oh, you got yours. Awesome.
hell
Hey, I
yeah.
need to put
Like, I'll tell
pressure
you what.
on him to
Like,
get me mine.
finally, I was starting to feel. You're gonna laugh, and I'm gonna tell Nick this too because I know he saw that I got this deal, but I've been on because you referenced that I've been on calls. Yeah, I have been on calls. I've been on so many calls, and it was my birthday, so I tell people when it was. I've been on so many calls, and had won so much swag from Nick. I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I said, I mean, I feel like I'm 22 months pregnant. I'm like, I am so overdue for a freaking deal. It's not even funny. So oddly enough, the first like one of the first deals I had was um it was a BO that was now he wasn't advertising. I picked a niche that had like great CPC, great volume, like tons of like just all the factors were there. But then the in terms of the search, in terms of like people advertising, it wasn't too much. Like it's in
Mm,
concrete, and like it seemed like the guys that were advertising were more commercial. And so,
mm,
as we know, like our model really doesn't lend itself to that many commercial deals in terms of the advertising. Anyway, so I had to like kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel from the beginning, and I was going through like Facebook groups, and I got this BO and I hooked him and I was sending him leads. And then lo and behold, the one day he got on the phone with me, he's like, I just want to let you know that this isn't going to work. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, my wife does my marketing and basically like does my leads. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is brand new news. Anyway, bottom line, this became like a thing like where she was like literally like these are like kids in like their 20s or 30s. But bottom line, like in their like little mini business, he's the one who was like doing the concrete, a little one man band, and she was supposed to be getting him business. And clearly, by my coming in and working with him, he basically shamed her psychologically by saying, "Oh yeah, I could use more deals and I can take more business." And she's like, "That's what I'm supposed to do." And I'm like thinking, like, well, if you're supposed to be doing it, and he wants, and I mean, he just said he wants more business. So this
yeah.
became like a jealous, like this became like a little, like literally like crazy love triangle. And I'm like, she's literally yelling at me on the phone. We don't need you. And da da da. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, listen. I'm like, hey. I'm like, more power to you. I'm like, so it was just kind of funny because I hadn't even gotten like to the close. I sent him like these really great deals and all, like, but she just got so jealous. It just really it highlighted how she was falling short and wasn't doing her job. But
Right.
so that was number one.
Yeah, you were basically shining the light on her missed opportunity, but that was so the bottom line here is it wasn't the right person because they were not paying for leads and they had a
100%.
small operation.
100%. I think it's really important to, so, it's not about smelling desperations, but it's about acting like desperation. And so,
Mhm.
um, everybody knows, I'm like, how many times have you said doing the due diligence is important, picking the right city, picking the right niche? Because like I did do like a flop, like my other pre-flop before that was I had actually had an organic site where I thought I had enough search volume and I didn't. And so I was
Mm,
paying for leads and I was getting like it just, that wasn't connecting. So that didn't work. And then this one, so now it's really about, I think, vetting the BO is so important on the front end and just really, it's not about, and I know Nick uses the terms about like using the pullback. And I think it's just really kind of reinforcing being like, hey, where are you now and where do you want to go? We always go like, are you hungry? Are you hungry? Like no one no business owner's gonna be like, no, I'm not hungry. Like, they really don't like to say like they're good, because they kind of, I think a lot of them don't like to say that because they're almost admitting that they're not in that mentality.
right.
But I think it's about kind of like you can get I look at it like you can get to the destination. You just have to go a different way. You have to ask different questions. And with every little conversation with them, maybe like get one nugget. One of the questions I like to ask them is like, what keeps you awake at night related to your business? I mean, like, look, I don't want to hear about your personal life, your marriage, but like in terms of business, what keeps you up at night? Because that's going to be like, like, or like, what's your biggest speed bump in your world? What's going on in your world? And I even did like the other thing too. I will tell you, like, I learned in my years of recruiting, a lot of people think like when you close the deal, like, okay, I got my deal, like, yeah, I'm done. Uh-uh. Mm-mm. And I think, it's really important. Like, there's something we always called it in recruiting. There's the post sell. And the post sell is you want to prevent the buyer's remorse. You want to it's a little bit of a stroke because like a lot of us get. I mean, think about a big purchase you made or your wife made or somebody you made. Like I mean like a big one. Like a 4-figure, 5-figure something, and then you're like, oh man, I bought it. Like it's not a $20 pair, $20 scarf. I mean, I'm talking about a big purchase, and you're like, oh man, should I really have done this? And then so that we want to nip that in the bud. The way the screencast wants to overcome the objections, we want to prevent the buyer's remorse from ever happening. It's almost like a pre-cold, like we're like it's like the emergency. Like we want to get in there and prevent that from happening. So look at it like, you want to tell people like, oh, you did a great job and this is how you're going to crush it. And this is how you're going to get to your goals. So that from all those questions when you ask, what's keeping you up at night? What's happening here? And I did a little bit of that yesterday with my deal because I found out like what the one of the biggest hurdles my current business owner has is that he just lost his scheduler because oddly enough it's his fiance slash new baby mama. And so, yeah, exactly. And so, like, it's one. So that he's looking at, he's in the process, and because I have a background in HR and hiring and recruiting, I'm like, I know it's a nightmare, and that's a time sucker. I don't know if you've ever tried to hire somebody. A lot of people here in the groups have like done VAs, and we all know you don't do this in 20 minutes. I mean, like literally, if you follow the people because I'm a big, big, big proponent of Dan Martell, by the way, get zero money from him, get zero money from like Hormozy, but big fans. But Martell talks about a lot of other people, like people who really want to scale, realize that scaling your team and putting the right cheeks in the right seats is literally just as important as getting the right BOs. And people, and those are just words, but when people really let that sink in and they look at staffing as important as driving sales, because like most small guys they don't realize they talk about churn. Like a lot of guys or people think about like they just think about churn about their sales. They don't realize there's churn of people. And if they're churning that, talk about wasted time. Like because we all know time is money.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're not getting the right people, so bottom line, I'm like, so I heard this guy, my BO is like, okay, that's the issue. So immediately now I'm trying to help him figure that out because I know that's a massive red flag. That's like 2 red flags. You know why? Because that's the person who helps him book estimates and follow up on estimates and bids and close deals. And if that person isn't there, that's impacting me because then he's going to go, oh, these leads suck. No, the leads don't suck. It's because we all know, I mean, everyone's heard the leads suck. No, no, no. Like, take a mirror, admit that maybe. So you need to have your team in place. We're the front end of the relay, but we pass the baton, and we pass the baton of these good leads. If you drop them, I don't care how great the leads are. If you drop them, you're not closing them.
I like your point about the post close.
Oh, it's huge,
because,
huge.
yeah, because what happens is when you close the business owner, you get the credit card information. That's peak. That's where they
Exactly.
peak in terms of being convinced. They're convinced.
100%.
They trust you. That's peak trust, and from there it starts to go down. Not really
It
plummet,
doesn't fall
but
off a cliff,
it's
no,
just
but
going
it, but it,
down.
but yeah,
Right.
it simmered like, yeah, we're popping off. It's like we're boiling over, and now we're coming back down to like a low
No,
simmer.
yeah, you're like simmering down, and you have to anchor them because what happens is, and I'm guilty of that too, is I grab the credit card. I'm like, thank you so much. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I'll hook you up. Bye. I'm done. My job is done. But no, that's when you need to pause and continue with the script and tell them that things are going to ebb and flow.
Correct.
Things are,
100%.
there's consumer behavior.
100%.
We're coming up on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay,
Exactly.
coming at me, yelling at me on Christmas week because you only got one call. Okay, that's called consumer behavior. People are being distracted. And I will not come to you later in March and April when you're getting 2 leads a day asking for more money. I am not going to do that. So, it ebbs and flows,
Mhm.
and the high season compensates for the low season, and that's what a partnership is. That's why I'm
Right.
not selling you leads and I'm not charging you a commission. We are partners.
Love
We
that.
are
Love that.
patient with each other when things go up and down.
And I
And
love
it's
that because
the
you're right. I love the word that you say anchor, and I love that. I think that word is huge because it's showing it's utilizing your professionalism by showing them that, look, I'm in it for the long haul. And the fact that you use the fact that you're talking about Christmas and season, just you're not saying you're going to be with them as a long-term partner. You're showing them and telling you're just by virtue of the style of dialogue you're choosing, you're
Mhm.
showing to them that you're not a one night stand. Say like,
Right,
look, we just put a ring on it, but now it's the other thing is like, once you put a ring on it, you still have to, like, you still look. We're all guilty of this. You get a ring on it, and it's like, oh, now I don't have to be on my best behavior anymore. Oh, okay. I can get fat and happy. I don't have to dress up. All of a sudden, we're all guilty of that. Everyone is. That's called human behavior. But if you still keep it on the top of the mind that you still need to, like, kind of like earn, because we all know retention is so much easier than getting a new business owner. But we still, have you ever been to Neiman Mark? Not Neiman Mark. Have you ever been to Nordstrom's? It's a, if you have a Nordstrom's,
yep,
have you ever bought anything there in person?
yes.
What do they, when they ring you up at the register, what does the person do after you bought? What does the clerk do?
I think they give you a receipt with like a code on it or something,
Yeah,
with a QR
yeah.
code
And
on
then where do they walk? What do they do? What's physically, what do they do?
it.
This is a yeah, it's something weird, but I'll tell you what they do.
Like
They they,
after
they
after they
walk
sell you stuff.
they walk around the counter out to you and hand you your bag.
Oh,
Now I know it's subtle, but I know, like, I know you've seen these videos where Nick's talking about, like, Louis Vuitton, and he's getting his, his like little, $150. Who knows how much those shades cost? By the way, I gotta ask him how much those shades cost. I guarantee they're not cheap, but like, it's all about service. And so, we can charge more. This is like the Hormozy idea of charging more, but we're like, we need to walk around conceptually and give them
mhm,
extra service. And
right.
so with whatever it is. And so it could be, weekly recaps of calls, or like saying like, hey, it could be something like doesn't cost us a lot, but it's like, hey, Larry, let me explain to you how I'm not Angie's. Because I'll tell you what, like, my guy already started commoditizing me because he's like, oh, $1,000 a month, da da da. Like, this is how many leads I should expect, So, and he's like dialing it down to like a number, and I'm like, and so um I didn't do a great job about like clarifying to him about how, like, all he did was like just put me into like a chart. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm not an actuarial spreadsheet. Like, he doesn't realize, like, I'm so much more than that. But I'm gonna
Mhm.
like, so instead of saying it to him, I'm gonna prove it to him. And so that's gonna be by following up and asking him about how his calls are going. And it's already happened yesterday because I realized, again, this gaping hole in his, this is like, not having the scheduling person in there is the equivalent of like a storefront having a broken window. Like that's how bad it is. Like, it's mission critical. Like, he's gonna screw up these leads, like just drop them if he doesn't get this thing dialed in. So with that being said, I've actually brought in somebody else to help him to have like an AI scheduler
Nice.
connected to his calendar, so that his baby bot, like, to answer the phone calls, to be able to schedule these people. So this is creating like a web. This is like a safety net that's going to be able to capture these people and not have them go, oh, the guy didn't answer, or the assistant didn't answer. Let me move on to the next person.
Hmm.
So we all know, the more contact you can get with people, and the more you can get them scheduled, the further along the sales process they'll go. And so that will just increase closing rates.
Right. So you definitely want to romance these business owners even after the fact, but not only romance them and keep them keep your promises, kind of over deliver on your promises, but also, tap the pulse and like listen. Like, yeah, you can always address like their complaints the same way you address all their objections. But if you ignore them, that's when things go south usually. Like
Yeah.
when you start to be less and less available, that's when they pull the plug. And usually it just takes one text message like, hey, this ain't working, I'm done. Like, so those touch points are very, very important because you're taking the temperature every time you talk to these people, even if it's just text message. You're
Yeah.
taking the
Yeah.
temperature and you're
Yeah.
constantly squashing the
100%.
objections.
I like this guy because he has he's been in business now almost 10 years, and
This is
and
the new deal that you
the
just
new
got.
one, yeah. And I like it
Okay, yeah,
because
let's talk about that actually. How did you hook up this? How did you hook this guy? And what was the live
well,
transfer?
so he was actually like actually he's the second one in this city. And the first one actually was doing I gave a bunch of leads to and actually had the guy scheduled for a closing call and then he ghosted me. I was like, "What?" And then I came to find like there's the
How many
first guy
leads did you get the first guy?
free and
Three
he
over
had
the course of how much? How long? Like a week?
10 day like a week, 10 days. Yeah, week, 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's
actually like,
decent.
over a week and then I scheduled the closing call for the next Tuesday. And then I came to find that he out of the three leads I gave him, he only went to one estimate. Like I did the transfers. You had him scheduled for all three of them, and then he actually was ghosting customers. I'm like, are you kidding me? Not only that, like I mean, I don't know whether this guy like I can't believe. I mean, I gave him a huge commercial deal, and I'll tell you, like
Mm.
this is a reason why like to follow up with these leads and to make good connections with them and to not to be on to kind of take care of both ends because the current business owner that I hooked, I was able to salvage that big commercial lead and it's still like a lead in process. It's a $60,000 commercial deal. That's
Wow.
play. Yeah. Yeah. So like, the BO that I hooked hasn't closed any deals, but it's like it's a bid that's in process. It's one of those things that has to go to a board and they have to approve
Yep.
it, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah, commercial works differently. Commercial drags. Residential is quick. The
right,
sales
right,
win
because it's just the
is
homeowner,
short.
right? Right. This is different people making a decision. But
Yep.
but I stuck my nose in enough because it was on the front end that I was able to pick the brain of the customer, which is the manager of this commercial deal. And I was like, hey, how many bids do you have? And I find out what the other bid was, and he admitted that they only got two. And I said, okay, which one are you leaning toward? He's like, oh, I'm leaning toward your guy. So like I'm doing as much as I can. So I'm also showing my business owner, and I even said that on the closing call. I'm like, I said, I've already proven myself to you, not only with the leads, but the fact that I'm not going anywhere, the fact that
Yeah, you're
I'm
doing his job too. You're going
exactly
over.
the fact that I'm interfacing, right? There's no like, right? Angie's people don't freaking do that. I mean, they do, they don't do any of that crap, So like, so once again, like again, while he was kind of like, migrating back to the commoditization, I had to kind of, I think about you when you say you got to slap him around a little bit, be like, hey, you got to be like, listen, I'm going way above and beyond. This is way different than just like you can't just like dial it down to just these numbers like that. So lots of
Yep.
intangibles, lots of,
Did you
but
try to pull back with him? Did you tell him, hey, I don't want to waste your time. If this ain't for you, let me know.
yeah, yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean, I did, and he was like, no, no, I want to grow because, like, I mean, he literally said because I got numbers out of him, like he's doing 1.8 a year right now, million, and he wants to get to three, and I'm like, well, you have to, you're gonna have to do something to grow. I mean, he is advertising already. He still does other stuff, but
Good.
again,
He's spending money. Good.
he's spending money, but like I'm like the problem is like if he doesn't get this scheduling person in, he's gonna have a really leaky bucket.
Well, good thing you're in HR and you can headhunt for him, get him more people.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to find out what these guys like to do. Because look, we all have the stuff we like to do, and human nature is we like to do more of what we're good at.
Yes.
And so we don't, and so like, I went on his website instead of like just assuming because I see he is like, he does general concrete work. And
Mm.
and then yesterday I was doing more, this is post sell. This is more about like learning more about his scheduling person he needs. And I said, okay, I said, what's your favorite thing to do? And because he does He does he does hardscapes, he does artificial turf, he does a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, I said, I said, what's your favorite? He's like, I like just regular pavers and driveways, just poured concrete, like flat work. That's what he loves, and retaining walls. He's like, I don't like all the stamped concrete and all. Like he does it as an accommodation. So, like why? So there's once again, I'm asking him and showing interest in him and what he wants to grow and how he wants to grow. So it's gonna be a lot easier for me to help him grow in the area where he wants to versus like shoehorning him into something he doesn't want to do. And I like the fact that he was honest with me about every year he knows about this cycle about slowing down at the holidays. Like he said he like in September, October, he starts to book out. Like so he's booking stuff for next year already because he knows the sales cycle.
So, Stephanie, we talked about um, your intro into the rank and rent, how you do not necessarily come from a sales background. You've had multiple careers, and it looks like this is it. Like you found it after dabbling and being successful and unsuccessful in different industries and different careers.
Well,
What
actually,
made this stick?
I actually did have a sales background.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I actually did have a sales background. I
Oh,
sold
you
mortgages.
did. What did you sell?
I was a headhunter. I was a recruiter. So I've owned my own business. I've been in sales for years and years and years. Yeah.
HR.
Well, no,
And
like I was a
the
recruiter.
last
So
career before this, what did you do?
well, but that before that, I actually owned a cooking school for 10 years. So that was different. But so oddly
That's
enough,
right.
I was selling my own school. I was doing outbound, I was cold calling and selling. I was contacting people to come to my school. So, people don't just fall out of the sky. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
sell my school. So in reality, I've been doing like more out of the box type of sales, but definitely sales.
Mm, makes sense. Yeah, I could definitely relate because I feel like my teaching background is helping me a little bit sell, especially when I do, presentations or if I stand in front of people. My teaching background kicks in, and that's definitely helpful. But you don't necessarily come from a boiler room where it's like smile and dial, sales background. I did do a year of an internship back in college. I think I was a freshman, and I did an internship in a like a phone call service thing. And I remember talking to a lot of people, probably 50, 70 people a day. But that was it for me. I never had proper sales training. I've had leadership training. I've had communication training at a corporate level, but never was taught sales, which is pretty interesting because sales is like governs our entire lives. Like we're selling all day, every day, or being sold all day, every day. So I'm surprised that we don't get taught sales in college and also financial literacy. These are two things that I struggled with and still struggle with: financial literacy and what's the other one? Drawing a blank.
You said sales.
Sales and financial literacy.
Well, I'm right
And
there with you on the financial literacy, but I think that should be done in high school or even earlier than that. I mean, forget about
right.
college. A lot of people don't even go to school. So I think even before that, I think I don't know. Like I'm so old. But when I was in elementary school, we actually had something called banking. We had like a little envelope, and we would take like $1 into school, once a week, and we would actually get like there was a deposit slip, and then like we would get like we had a balance. So that was we actually had like a little account, and it was actually through a local
Mhm.
like a credit union or a local bank. It was a real bank. Somehow they did it with like obviously our parents co-signed it or something like that. So that was really important. But then after that, then it just fizzled out. That was it. It was like a one-off. But
Right,
I agree with you.
right.
I think public speaking, financial literacy, and then some more adult daily just things that are more practical for living are really important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
no matter what, like
Um,
people always get afraid to talk to a stranger, and in reality, that's a fear. Like, and I'll just say this: I've learned through my sales training because I actually have spent like a small fortune on private sales training and group stuff.
mm,
But the same way that like we're not born afraid of snakes, like nobody's born afraid of a snake. Like we grow up and you meet somebody who says, "Ooh, snakes are scary," and we internalize that. The same way we're not born afraid to pick up a phone. We're not. We're not born afraid to talk to strangers. It's like, well, but we internalize that fear of like rejection, the fear of somebody, like, bitching at us, slamming down the phone, and it's still not fun. I mean, still to this day, it's hard for me to like I'll tell you, it's funny because you're wearing your tank top, and before I get on a closing call, you know what I do? You're gonna laugh. I listen to the theme song of Rocky, like the movie, bum, 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 I get myself all exactly. I get in that zone, I get pumped up because I know like, it's like I'm ready, like right. It's like putting my dukes up, like I'm getting ready because I know they're gonna come for me, and I'm like I don't care. It's like I'm gonna let it like roll off my back, like I'm all oiled up, and it's like water to roll off my back. Like I'm not gonna let it sink in because it's not at me, like whatever. So that's all.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like
It's in that mindset.
hyping
So it's a
yourself
lot about
up.
it's the mindset. It's so much
You're
about the
right.
mindset. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about this new deal. Can you walk us through it, like how you
Sure.
got a hold of the person and how it progressed into the close?
Yep. So, this is in concrete. This is in the Southwest. And, I just developed my list of BOs, the go through and start off. I have been running ads. This actually came through a Facebook ad, not a
Hmm.
Google ad. And then, but I do look at people who are running Google ads first still because we know those are expensive. I love to see the Google guaranteed people, and then I go and look, for Angie's or Thumbtack and Home Advisor, that sort of thing. And
Hmm.
got this guy on the hook. Sole business owner, but real young guy, but vetted him well. He has a bunch of crews, and I liked it because he has somebody in the office who does his scheduling for him. So he's not trying to do it all, but he is busy, and he does commercial as well as residential. Um, and then send him some leads. And so then, oddly enough, I actually was kind of I sent him just two leads. And the first one was a small job, and he didn't I think the customer was like, I think pulled the plug or something. Second one was a huge commercial deal, and it still hasn't closed. And I was actually waiting until that closed. I didn't send him any more, but I was waiting till that closed. And then I talked to somebody else. I talked to a more senior person. And he's like, "Why wait? Just go in and close him." So I waited too long. I got a little bit of cold feet, but then I'm like, you know what? Like, let me just go in there because I was gonna go for the kill, like once he closed that deal. But I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is just a matter of I already had done some some scratching, meaning like I knew he was at 1.8 million a year and he
Hmm.
wanted to get to three. You don't get to three unless you take some swings. So I just got on a closing call. So I will say I sent him a screencast, and it was like he did watch it, which I was glad, but like it was like terrible. It was a terrible screencast. Like in fact, I
So do
was
you think that commercial job is what sold the deal? Because you only sent him two. Do you think
I don't
after
know.
sending him that
I'll
commercial?
tell you. To be honest with you, I don't know what sold the deal, but like I'll tell you, I've been following up on that commercial deal like nonstop, nonstop,
Even
and
in the first live, you were actually mediating and being like
still
calling the
am,
company
still
and
am.
getting the scoop and oh, still
Still
okay.
am. Still am. And so I'm showing my professionalism, commitment, my attention to detail. And business owner knows that he is losing, like because he does have a good amount of activity, as we say, coming in the pipeline. But I've realized through diagnosing him, he probably has too much of a leaky bucket. Like he's following up via email, whereas you need to follow up via phone call and text. He
Mm.
needs to be, like we know. I don't care when someone says I have a great BO, I don't buy it. Like if they're great, that means they're really good. And if somebody
Yeah.
says like they're good, that means they're fair. If someone says they're fair, it means they suck because like no, everybody can be better. We all can be better in terms of follow up. And when I say that, that comes through like every time you contact somebody, it's like do a double dial because people right now are so paranoid about picking up the phone. They don't recognize the phone number, they're screening it. So it's like
Hmm.
call, it's either leave a voicemail or call and hang up and then call again and then text, and just be vigilant. Not past, not a fly buzzing around, but showing follow through and just professionalism and show. I mean, we all know it's an old adage, 80% of life and business is like just showing up and doing what you say you're going to do. It's not rocket
Hmm.
science. It literally, we learned this in, in kindergarten, like, just like do unto others as you'd like to have done to yourself. If people just did more of that, people would win. Like, you don't need to go to school. You don't need to go to business school. Just do more of that.
Hmm.
But so many people don't do that.
Mm. Yeah,
They're late,
absolutely.
they just drop the ball. I call it
Tell
drop.
people about that dial. What happens there?
What's that?
Double dial. Why do you do?
So because sometimes a customer will screen a call. They won't recognize a number. So when you dial first, and oftentimes what I'll do is I'll leave a voicemail, and they'll even I've been prompted to do this by customers. They'll say, "Look, leave a voicemail and tell me who you are," and so they can't pick up the phone. So they're listening to the voicemail, and they associate me, a real person, with that phone number. So then I'll call back right away, and then they'll answer. If I only called once, they screened my phone call and there was no conversation.
Mm.
So there's the difference of zero conversation, zero interaction, zero moving along the funnel. And in scenario number two, I spent another 30 seconds to a minute and got to connect. We all know dialing, it's all great, it's all well and good to dial, but if you don't connect, you might as well I might as well be calling my dog.
Right.
Like dialing and getting no connect is like not even dialing. You can feel good about, oh, I called 10 people today, but if you don't talk to anybody, sorry, you just you didn't get, that's not much activity. So I vastly increased my conversion of connects by doing the double dial. And
Absolutely.
so,
I agree. I started doing that too. So if I call and I don't get an answer, or it's about to go to voicemail, I hang up and I call again.
correct.
Then if it goes to voicemail, I leave a voicemail. But the first time I don't leave a voicemail usually. If the voicemail is full, I will text them and say, "Hey, your voicemail is full. Do you do fill in the blanks?" And that way we start a conversation. To your point, there are a lot of business owners who refuse to answer the phone. They just want to text. They want to text all day, every day. And I actually just told one yesterday who refuses to pick up my call. I'm trying to hook him. And as soon as I hooked the other guy, I just texted him back and I said, "Listen, I'm trying to get you on the phone and you're not picking up. I'm sorry, I found someone else." Yeah, there are certain people who are, and I mentioned this before in other lives, where some people are used to having a job, and then when they create a company and they start a business, they just start a new job. They're not really entrepreneurial. They just jumped into entrepreneurship and now they just got a new job, and they're scared of selling. They're scared of everything. They just want to stay behind the curtain and
Yep.
just text their customers. They can't pick up the phone, and they're stuck in that because they're used to just being an employee. They haven't broke into, like, they're not broken in yet. They're not broken in business owners yet. I have this all the time. It happens all the time. People who refuse to pick up the phone, refuse to call you back. They just want to text. "Hey, can you please send me the address and the surface, and I'll text you a quote." Like, no, that we're not doing that, dude. You're a business owner. Call me. It's your job to call me. So yeah, if I see that, that's usually a big red flag. I don't like business owners that don't call back and they just insist on texting.
Yeah, and I was actually even talking about when I do the double dial, it's even when I'm actually calling leads. So
Right.
this is when I'm,
Same.
when leads are coming in, whether it be whether it be a Facebook for, a web form, or that they're whatever way they're coming in to me. If I miss them, this is how I'm contacting them back. Same type of thing, because they're so leery as well of being
Right.
telemarketed too. And I want to make sure I
Yep.
separate myself from the telemarketer. But to your point about contacting the BOs, it made me think just yesterday, because I'm actually in a new market in a big city. Like, this is, I usually, most of us do the smaller towns, but I'm actually helping out. I partner with somebody else who chose to do concrete, like in a suburb of a large city. And I'll tell you, like, talking to these BOs, like they're I was shocked. I think I texted 10 and I only had two reply, and that's a really
Hmm.
low, because I was just asking, do you do driveways? I mean, 2 out of 10. And the first one came back with, "Are you selling leads?" So I got on the phone with another one, because then I said, okay, then I'm just doing, then I'm direct dialing. Now I'm dialing out, because I'm like, what is going on here? And the guy was like, he was so bitchy, but I actually talked him off the cliff. Like, I didn't sell him, I didn't hook him. Like, I didn't want him anyway. But
Hmm.
he actually said that he's like, my phone is blowing up. He's like, this is something, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I think there's some guy, I think, I personally think maybe, I mean, this is a very small sample, but I think so many people are in these big cities that are in proven niches are really trying to go into I think they don't realize that a lot of this, like a proven niche in a big city is really pretty saturated. I mean, this is
Hmm.
pretty, this is, this is not the ideal way, like I think, not that it can't be done, but it's just the
Yeah.
fact that these business owners are talk about fatigue. Like there's something called, like in the Facebook world, there's something called ad fatigue. Or in the advertising world, there's ad fatigue. This is BO fatigue. Like I feel like they're being inundated right now, and they're done. So
Right.
that's the impression that I got. Like the other, really the only two that I got that really were worth it and were willing to talk to me, oddly enough, not licensed and brand new.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, especially in the big cities. I mean, there's a lot of us out there now. There's a lot of lead generators, and it's not just our program. There's hundreds of other
Oh,
programs
I know.
and
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
different
saying.
approaches. So yeah, you're absolutely right
But I will say
about
this, yes, no, no,
BO
like
fatigue.
my my suggestion to anybody on the call is, um, don't go into just really do your due diligence, number one. And I will say this, like I know we're talking about, this is part of Nick's group, running ads and everything, but I will tell you that I still have a lot of sites organically that I'm ramping up, and I will say the one thing I encourage someone to do is just to, I call it buying two lottery tickets. It's like if you're going to put up a lead gen site, it's like one ticket. To me, in any area, if you just want to, because our goal, right, when we're advertising is always to eventually, pull the ad spend down so we can increase our margins, right? And
Hmm.
so what I've found is my all of my organic sites are taking so long to rank. Had I put two websites in each area, I would have had double the leads that I have coming in. I would have been able to get them up and running, and I would have been able to sell them quicker. So it's a
Like
matter of,
two sites for the same niche
yeah, in the same city.
in one city.
Exactly.
Okay, I've never
The
heard of
idea,
that. That's
the idea is building a moat. So when I was a little girl, I used to go to there used to have to be these things called a fair, like a county fair, right? And there was this game where you would pay like $1, and you would shoot water into this clown's mouth, and the balloon would blow up. Okay. And when the balloon exploded, you won. And you'd be lined up with 10 other people, right?
mhm.
So all it is about aiming and how big you can get how quickly you can get your balloon to pop. So my sister played with me, and she was the youngest one, and she couldn't, she couldn't even hold the gun. So she's all over the place. So she was crying because she couldn't win, blah, blah, blah. So my dad bought next to my sister, and she was getting some water in. But my dad, instead of my dad pointing at his balloon, he pointed straight at hers. Well, again, of course she won because, she had her water a little bit, and then she had his. So the whole point is, like, if you have two websites in the same city, in the same niche. So here's an idea, like, where you could have a couple, again, you could go into one of these bigger cities and you're in two like little suburbs or something. And that now you have two feeding the same BO. Like the BOs don't care whether or not you have two websites. They could care less. They just want leads. So you have more chances to get leads quicker. And we all know nobody has 100% connection in terms of websites. Some people just can never get them to rank organically, right? I mean, some
Hmm.
people have to keep ads on forever, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just like it's going to eat into your profit margin. So if you have a greater chance of getting stuff to rank, if you put
Hmm.
two, if you put, so you put two in a city, and maybe one ranks and it just goes through the moon, but then the other one is just a dud. Well, had you only done the dud, then you would have been out of that market. But because you had the other one
Sure.
that connected, so now it's just it goes back to the theory of redundancy. If anybody's ever, I don't know if anybody is a scuba diver, but they always make sure that you have, like, you have to have a secondary source of oxygen, because when you're down there, you know, you have to go down with a partner. You always want to have secondary source of oxygen. You want to have redundancy, because if you don't, you're going to die. I mean, this is not death, but this is like death of your website. This is death of your deal if you don't
Yeah.
connect. And so we just talk
Hmm.
about redundancy, and I mean, this is why we have, fire drills. Like nobody wants to have a fire, but stuff like this happens. So it's kind of like creating a safety net for each and every deal Because
Yes, I've done that. I've done that, but I've done it with a different intent. I've put before websites that are 20 miles apart,
Mhm.
but with the hope, because it's such a populated area, with the hope of, yes, like you did, like you said, double dipping, creating more chances, two lottery tickets, but also to be able to split them with two business owners.
Yeah, of course,
That's the
absolutely,
ultimate goal. Right.
100%. This is
But actually, to your point, I'm using this now to supplement the guy because the guy's leads dipped in one
well, there
town.
you go.
Now
Yeah,
I'm using the town next door to supplement his leads until
that
things
same
pick up.
play, same exact play. I mean, so you could do it either way. Like, yeah, so you have the option. So when you ramp up two, if both of them connect, you split it down the middle, and you could you could do like east west, north south, and like kind of send some to one BO, get two. So now you have
Hmm.
two revenue streams, or like you said, you can have them supplement. So you have the option of both. You have the benefit of both options.
Right. Absolutely. So
Mhm.
this guy, when you hooked him on the phone, how was he in the beginning? Was he skeptical? Was he on board right away? What was his demeanor?
Totally open to it. Like look, everybody gets it. I mean, when they get it, they get it. It's not rocket science. They make money, we make money, we're off to the races. I mean, that's it. It's not a secret
Hmm.
formula. They understand, because it's again, we go back to they're spending money on advertising. They know deals don't fall from the trees. Like nobody in this day and age is working 100% off referrals. I'm sorry, you're not. They're just not. And if they are, then they have a teeny weeny little business and they don't want to grow. I mean, this guy's young, he just had a baby. And so I really got into the whys with him, and he said while he loves what he does, he's sick of being in the weeds in his business. And he wants to be able to scale. Like, and he's a little frustrated right now. Like he spent a lot of extra money like on equipment and then insurance, and he's really spent a lot of money on like, he's at that time where it's a plateau right now. And he needs to take it off to the next level to really get sales going. But he's doing all the right stuff. It's just that he needs to keep he needs to keep the foot on the gas and then, get to the next level because he wants to be able to bring in somebody to do estimates. He does all the estimates himself. And he wants to just grow. So, he's open to everything. He realizes again that this is, you have to spend money to make money. People know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's on board in the initial call. Did you pull back? Was eager to start receiving leads?
I didn't do a pullback. No, no.
Hmm. No, no,
So
no, I mean like later in the follow up,
no,
did
I never no,
you
because
challenge him at
I
all?
never got the feeling like he was being squirrely. Like only when they're
Mm,
squirrely and they're dodging. I was, like I mean, I will say I have a lot of problems like with the communication of what you're talking about earlier. The people don't return your calls, they don't return your texts. It's like they just get busy. And I hate to say it, but like it's like, dude, like look, you gotta like not treat me like as, the redheaded stepchild. It's like, you need to I realize that you don't need to answer my phone call like I'm an emergency room physician, but you need to be respectful of my time and get back to me. And so like
yeah.
it's more about like that to me. It's more about like a little bit of a verbal tongue lashing, where I'm like, if
Hmm.
I get the feeling that they're not responsive to my text or emails, then I'll be like, hey, like I get the feeling like I'm bothering you. Like, do you need me to take these elsewhere? And like, no problem, dude. But I never got that with him. Like I didn't get that pullback. I mean,
Mm,
I didn't get that need for the pullback. And in fact, he was like, hey, should we talk about going forward? And I'm like, yeah, I will do that. So like he was actually even asking for the closing call. And then and I'm like, yeah. So then I scheduled it. He wasn't trying to like, sometimes they try to dodge out of that. Nope, he was right on
yep.
board and he was right there on time, and he watched the loom. So he was very compliant, so really happy with that, very compliant all the way
Nice.
around. Yeah.
Nice. And so you were happy with him. You sent him two. The second one was hefty, and that's when you decided this is a hefty enough job for me to sit him down and talk turkey.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And then you sent him the loom. He watched the whole thing. And then he sat down. Did you anchor him when he sat down on the Zoom? Did you tell him, hey, I need a yay or nay? Don't leave me in maybe land.
I didn't.
You
Mm-mm.
just cut right through
Mhm.
into his business. Okay. Tell me
Yep.
about the Zoom a little bit. Like how did it go? Was he like trying to rush you? Like, yeah, yeah, I get it. Let's get to the end. Or was he? Was he just going with the
No, and
flow?
I'll tell you, we actually did a phone call. So he was
Oh,
we actually did a phone call. So it was not a Zoom. But no, he wasn't rushing. No, no, I just wanted to learn more about his business. I wanted to learn what about I wanted to reinforce his goals, and that's when he was telling me more about like his new baby and like the scheduling. And he said he's trying to hire new people. Like so, it's been like a staffing issue because a question I like to ask is like, what's your biggest speed bump, or what's the biggest what's what keeps you up at night? What's preventing you from relating to work? And he said basically right now it's about replace because um it's actually his wife that it was doing all the scheduling, and now she just had a baby. So now this is a gaping hole in the business. So now he's a new dad, and then wife is all of a sudden of course she can't be 100%. So now so I was talking to him about other options, and realizing that I need to shore up that hole. I need to help him shore that hole up because I don't want him dropping the ball on these leads.
mm,
Because if we don't
yeah.
if we don't get that taken care of, but at the end of the day, if these leads don't convert, look, he's not going to fire himself, but he might end up going, what? I don't want to get those leads because like I'm busy right now, like dealing with all this, like whatever. He could pull the plug on me, but he's not gonna fire himself. So like I knew
Hmm.
that like that's still an issue. Like in fact, I just as we were on the just right now, I got another phone call because I have somebody working on like an AI type of solution for him to be able to work these leads and schedule like to plug into his calendar and schedule his estimates and that sort of thing. So I'm also doing other stuff for him. Like I've already demonstrated, that I'm not just like some lead gen hack. I mean, I will say this, I didn't like it the fact that like when I worked the deal with him, like in terms of the pricing, like he did kind of commoditize me and say like, okay, it's this amount, and then this is how much, blah blah blah. Getting down to like the price per lead. So I didn't like that, but I didn't want to
Mm.
smack. I didn't smack around too much, because he did buy. But I'm gonna keep
How
real.
did you address that objection? Like, hey, like
It
if we
wasn't
break
an
it down,
objection. It was not an objection. I didn't address it.
uh
I just let him say it. I let him say it. I didn't like it, but I let him say it, and then I just moved on because it wasn't an
right,
objection to not buy. It was just like he was speaking, he was thinking out loud, and so he was. I just got. He just shared with me that he was commoditizing me. So again, I didn't like it. So it's
hmm
just kind of like I kept it in my pocket, and I'll be addressing it in the future.
right, yeah, my service was definitely commoditized yesterday on a phone call. I received this phone call from this gentleman, and actually, sorry, a lady, and she's talking about how the leads have slowed down. And I think about 2 months ago, we were getting 2 calls a day. Like it was
Oh,
pretty crazy. And now we're more like 2 calls a week, 3 calls a
oh,
week. So yeah, it dried up, but she was like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "What's going on?" It's just the market is going on.
yeah.
People are distracted.
What nation?
There's Thanksgiving, there's all kinds of stuff. Now we are in Florida, so it shouldn't be affected that bad. But I
Yeah.
told her, "Hey,
No,
it's
it's still a
consumer
holiday.
behavior."
What's the
Yeah,
name?
there's consumer behavior, and people get distracted. No one's thinking really about their epoxy right now. Maybe some are, um, before the holidays, but the majority are just thinking about the turkey and the vacation and the Christmas and
Yeah, yeah.
all
Now
that stuff.
that's why but, I went through that with my guy, about it slowing down, but he already got this, so I
Hmm.
did nip that in the bud. But he totally gets it. Like in fact, he's already scheduling out for next year. Like he has some pockets, but he already gets it. So he knows that like he has a lot on his schedule, like even through March, believe it or not. But he knows like right between now and like he said basically that through the beginning to the end of the January, he's like at the end of January, people come out of their holes and they're ready to they're like, oh, it's like New Year's resolutions, right? They're like,
Right,
oh, I want to get my body in shape. Like, oh, I want to get my house in shape. My house looks like shit.
right.
I want to get my house going. So then they go, okay, so like, let me get my, let me fix that, that crappy looking back patio that I've been looking at all year and it makes me sick, and so they finally get their,
Hmm.
they finally get their act together. So a lot of that residential stuff comes through at the beginning of the year.
Absolutely. And yeah, I just had to, bring back that conversation with her because
Of course,
they
of
seem to
course.
forget. We had it during the script, but I just told her, hey, if you remember, we were getting 2 calls a day, and if I remember correctly, I didn't ask for more money, even though we were over delivering.
Right.
Now that we're squeezing, but I know you said, hey, it's like $300 a conversion or $400 a conversion. That's fine. I'm not gonna disagree with you, but we also had, $20 a conversion back then, and I I didn't come after you for more money. So this is a good time to be patient. If I'm bringing you 0 leads, yeah, maybe you should hit the pause. But if we're still trickling, I think it's just a matter of a month or two. You can handle it. You've already made the money for this year
Are you
with
still
me.
running
You
ads
can
for her? You still running ads in that
mhm,
market?
yep. It just they drop, and when people also other companies will jump in and start spending money, and that messes with the CPC.
Sure.
When things dwindle, that's when people jump in and start, because there's no organic coming in. Now they want to spend money, and everyone's cost per click goes up, which is typical. And then on top of that, there's consumer behavior. Like the people just they ebb and flow. They're interested, seasonally, and then they're not interested because there's other stuff that's distracting them.
Of course.
So yeah, that conversation is never too late to be had. You can have it in the Zoom call, after the Zoom call, and you can keep hammering that point. This is a flat fee deal. You are patient with me when things get slow, and I am not going to charge you more money when things blow up. That's the
Yeah,
deal.
also like to give the analogy of like whether it be if it's in a cold area, you talk about like heating, and if it's in a hot area, you talk about air conditioning. Like some
Yep.
people just some people like obviously in the summer like you're blasting your air conditioning, your power bill is like crazy through the roof. But then in the winter, you don't have to have as much. So some people just like to have that they know like this is how much I need to pay, instead of getting blasted with some crazy high bill, this is just like a nice flat thing. So they know where it
Hmm.
is. It's what it is and it's consistent. So,
Right.
well,
Yep.
so that's the other sometimes. I mean, some people, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's people
Uh,
budget.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me about the close. How was it? Because it was your first time. Well, not the first time, but
So I just
it
said,
was
hey,
like
yeah, I
ask
walked them through it and I was like,
hard
hey, this is what it
in this
is.
context.
Well, I'd already done the, I didn't even address, he never went to like pay per lead. He never went to commission. I'm like, because that was addressed on the screencast. I'm like, don't do it. It never even came up. And I'm like, okay, here's what it is. And to be honest with you, like it's in concrete, it's only $1,000 deal and I'm running ads. So like the profit margins aren't there. Like I really would like to I really wanted, to be honest with you, like I wanted like 1,500 or 2,000, but because he hasn't closed anything and because like, and my lead flow my lead flow is not delicious right now. Like I let him in at the mentally, like I closed him at 1,000, but I'm gonna go back to him and like I want like I know it's a good market and I know it's worthy of like 1,500 or even 2,000, but
Yes.
but I'm not but I didn't but not right now. So
Hmm. As long
um
as you're not shooting yourself in the foot, as long as you're not in the red with ads, if you're profiting just a little bit, it's fine. Just keep them happy, because you can upsell them again, now that you have proof of concept. Like, hey, look how many leads I brought you for this many. You want to double it up? You want to go 2,000, and we can do some more damage.
right.
Yeah, and get you more leads, and tell him that the more you give Google, the more you're going to get rewarded, obviously, because sometimes Google will just take your money and not give you anything. So might
This
as
is Facebook.
well
And this is
bring
Facebook.
it up. What's that?
This is Facebook.
Oh, nice. Facebook ads.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, Donnie Dre is really good with Facebook ads. If you guys have questions about that, talk to Donnie Dre. He's I think he's mastered it.
Nice.
I want to see if there's any questions. Nope, no questions. People are napping. It's the afternoon.
It's already
Awesome, awesome.
TGIF.
What's that?
It's already TGIF.
Yeah, people are already out. Oh, and there's a big fight tonight, so
Oh, there
everyone's
is?
yeah, the Tyson Jake Paul fight.
What is that? Are they going
Mike
to go?
Tyson.
They both in the wheelchairs? Like that's ridiculous.
Well, one is like
How old is?
29.
Yeah,
The,
Tyson's
the
not.
the the young kid is 29, and Tyson is what, 58 now. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I've seen
So
him for years because he's been in Vegas for a long time. I've seen him like 30. I remember 30 years ago he was hitting on my sister at the gym. Like we'd see him at the
oh,
gym.
really? Oh, you know him when he was wild back then.
But I'll tell you, I'll really make you laugh if like I don't know if you saw like that event that Holyfield fight. You're probably too young. I don't know,
um,
but
Evander Holyfield, when he
when
bit his
he
ear.
bit his ear, yeah, he bit his
That
ear.
was
It was actually kind of
2005,
funny.
I think.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because like Was it that? I think it was before that, wasn't it?
I thought it
Anyway,
was
just
'05. No, he retired in '05, I think. Evander
anyway.
Holyfield was like
But yeah, it was
2002
funny
maybe.
because yeah, he was actually trying to stick his tongue in my sister's ear, and I'm like, dear God, I'm like, she's gonna bite it off. But yeah, so yeah, definitely a piece of work. He's definitely a piece of work.
He calmed down since.
Yeah, never a dull
Yeah,
moment with a guy. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for jumping on again and explaining everything to us and walking us through this first deal. Now, how are you going to create momentum? What's your how are you going to hit that 10K a month? What's the
Yeah,
strategy here?
just I have it's more of the rinse and repeat. I do have some other I do have some other ad campaigns running right now. I want to get this thing up and going. And then I still
Hmm.
have, like I said, I do have organic stuff that I'm ramping up. And then I'm using the strategy that I mentioned earlier to you where I'm doing so where I'm putting multiple websites
Right.
in one
Super
area.
city.
Yeah, actually,
Yep.
I'm going into a new niche, and I'm actually doing more than that. I'm actually doing 4 and 5 because
Hmm.
it's a really good niche. Like it's a niche where it's so high ticket. Like literally, if a BO does one deal a month, everything's worth it.
Mm.
So really,
Okay.
it's a niche that I really it's a good high quality high ticket niche,
Nice.
and I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, whenever you're ready to tell us what the niche is, yeah, I think a lot of students here want to know. Um, uh, I had one last question. Let's see. So yeah, your plan to 10K, and yeah, do you have any hooks right now? Active hooks?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. That's because that's key for me. For me personally, that is key. When I don't have hooks, new hooks every week, like my momentum just goes to the crapper. So I just picked up 2 hooks this week. And sometimes even if I have a hook and I feel like they're weak, they're not, they got a couple of red flags, I would put another hook next to them just in
Oh,
case.
I'm a big fan of double hooks. In fact, I had
Hmm.
the closed deal that in fact, I have another guy still in that market. So I'm a big fan.
Nice.
For all of us newbies, I double hook. It's the same thing, a redundancy. I'm like, I don't, I'm not, I don't have the confidence like I'm a 100% closer or 80% closer or whatever. If I feel like I'm a 50% closer, then you have two, then you're gonna close. So like, it's like,
Hmm.
why? I'd rather do a little extra work on the front end and then know, like, again, it's just the two lottery tickets. I'm gonna get one. Like, if I have two hooks in one market, I'm gonna get one. So if I either do the first, either do A or B, and so then like my confidence level goes through the roof, my level of anxiety goes down, and I'm like, okay, is it going to be A or B, or is it frick or frack? I don't care. Like no
Right.
offense, I don't care. Like it's like join me in my fun game. It's my sandbox. Like I'm the clown. It's my circus. Do you want to you in or out? Again, I don't marry these people. Like I don't get. I'm not married to the BO. This is just business. I'm listen, like I'm respectful, I'm kind, I'm nice, I'm friendly, I'm funny. But like, look,
Hmm.
I'm not living and dying by you. Like I'm not losing sleep over you. Don't lose sleep over me. This is just business. But the other thing I'll let you with this. I tell people, I'm like, look, I like surprises at Christmas and my birthday, but I don't want surprises in business. So don't like I don't want to wake up and have my phone blowing up or have email blowing up or whatever. Like that's just please do what you say you're gonna do, and then it's all good. You know, you do your stuff, I'll do my stuff, and that's it. That's it.
Yep.
No surprises, just on off to the next one.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just like dating. Like you date them, but you gotta shoot for that ring. You gotta shoot for the wedding. If there's no wedding at the end of that, you gotta cut them loose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah,
love it.
no hard feelings.
That's right. Yeah, no
And then
hard
you go,
feelings.
okay, not you, but have like then give me some referrals. Like who's, like I don't have a problem. But all right, then who's your competition? And some of them get all pissed off. They're like, I'm not telling you. And other ones are like, well, call so and so.
I like that. I'm gonna start using that
All I
actually.
could do is say no. Like once again, I don't care. Let it like again, like I'm not working with them. I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
been in this game long enough. I've heard guys that say, oh, they have people come, they get no's today, and then 9 months later, somebody calls them out of the clear blue. I'm not into burning bridges. I'm not.
Hmm.
But,
Yep.
so always keep the door open. But in terms of like, I have no problem pushing somebody and being like, okay, like, you don't want to do it today. Like, who do you want to use, or who else should I use?
Absolutely. Love it. Let's end on that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, if you guys have any more questions for Stephanie, please drop them in the comments. Go ahead. Oh, I didn't hear that last part.
No, I just said thanks.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. All
Thank
righty.
you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you.